Tipping in Canada and the States is ridiculous, and it is just an excuse to pay your employees poorly, and I absolutely despise it. I hate tipping culture.
今天我邀请的我的朋友伊恩，让他来分享一下他的故事。
My name's Ian. I work with the mechanical engineering department at UVic, and I'm also a grad student here in my second year of my graduate studies in mechanical engineering. I've got two undergraduate degrees, one in biology and the other in biomedical engineering, and I've worked for a handful of different organizations over the years. I have kind of a weird background.
When I saw your first time last year, I thought you were much mature than other guys. I was curious about it. Why you have the private office?
Oh, that's because I work for the department. So I have an office for my job with my role as a scientific assistant with mechanical engineering.
It's a part-time job?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm also a part-time grad student, so I'm doing half and half.
That's the first time I heard that Canada has this kind of...
It doesn't
Great
really. It's just sort of how my situation works out. I'll probably end up paying a little bit more to do it.
Or you need to pay tuition fee a little bit higher?
Not per semester, but I'll be here for more semesters. So it'll probably take me 3 years to complete the 2-year degree, give or take.
You need to spend more time to finish it.
Exactly.
Are there any unforgettable memories from your early school life you'd like to share?
When I was in grade 8, I broke my arm. I was playing soccer, and I was fooling around with a buddy afterwards, and he kicks the ball, and I straight arm the ball, and my arm really hurts, and I kind of swear a bunch, and we call it there for the night, and we both go home, and the next day my arm kind of hurts. So went and got it x-rayed, and then I got cast up, and I show up to school the next day with my cast, and yep, there was definitely a break. An English teacher who looks so much like Alan Rickman, the actor who played Snape from Harry Potter. It was spooky. And he looks down and goes, "What happened to your arm?" I'm like, "Well, I was playing soccer and with a buddy, and he kicks the ball, and I straight arm it and impact. You should sue the guy." And my buddy, who I'd been playing with that time, is sitting right behind me, looks up and goes, "Hey!" in the middle of class. Anyway, super funny. Everyone around us kind of knew the story.
Where are you from?
Mostly from England and Scotland and Wales and Ireland. Split kind of evenly, quarter.
It's much better in Canada. Why move to there?
Several great-grandparents that all made their decision for different reasons, but at the time, some of my great-grandparents moved during the Great Depression, some moved for work, some moved for hope of a better life, and they all kind of found each other as things went along.
What was a typical day like for you in high school in Victoria?
Oh, well, I wasn't in Victoria, but it wouldn't be all that different. So when I was in Crescent Valley, we had one class for the morning, one class for the afternoon, lunch in the middle. I was in a really, really small high school, so there weren't a ton of clubs. So if you were in Victoria, clubs is much more part of the culture, where you've got, a robotics club, math club, and, very different.
So you didn't have a very heavy schedule, right?
I was doing, after school I had karate or soccer. I was in a extracurricular event that was more for my home life. It had nothing to do with school. That was just something that I was enrolled in, and I kept up with that for years. But when I moved out to Crescent Valley, or when I did the Kootenays anyway, I did do some extracurricular soccer, but that was 1, maybe 2 days a week, and I did have homework. It wasn't too bad. I'd spend maybe an hour a night.
Do you have any regrets?
I have lots of curiosities of what would be different, but not so much regrets. I'm kind of happy with how things turned out. I'm always curious about, it would be interesting to see what life would be like if this was different or that was different.
Okay.
But yeah, nothing I'd tweak. I'm pretty pleased with how things are.
Sounds great. It means that you have a fulfilling life. What are your hobbies?
So I paint miniatures and play war games and play a fair number of video games. I kind of fell out on doing organized sports. Don't get me wrong, I love to rock climb when I get a chance, but it's not something that my partner's very excited about. So I've got a friend that I'll go with every once in a while. But for the most part, it's mostly the miniature painting, and I'll go hiking too. That's a good time. And there's some good hikes within a couple of hours of Victoria.
What's your dream? It's a deep question.
It's a hard question to answer.
Have you ever thought about that question before?
Yeah, and there's things that I want to do. I'd love to own a house in Victoria. I really like the area. I've lived here for years and years and years, but it's a very expensive housing market to get into. So I've learned a lot about it. I know kind of what I need to do in order to do that and how much money I need to save. But I also want to have kids, so it may not be a super practical thing to do.
Yeah, but I think that's a suggestion for you to speed up to afford a house, because I just mentioned that you currently the house you rent is too expensive. 3,000. You can rent a cheaper one.
That's true. That's true. My partner works from home, so she's got an office, and it that maybe accounts for 500 of that, but is what it is. It's a nice spot.
You deserve it. Let's go back to your dream. You just mentioned to afford a house.
I could definitely see doing some like side contracting, especially after my my master's is done, and maybe some consulting contracts. That'd be a fun thing. I've done a little bit of consulting in the past, and I usually find it very satisfying.
Yeah, I think your dream is very specific.
Well, I'm a big one for SMART goals. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that acronym as specific, measurable, achievable.
Smart.
Yeah. Can I remember the R or the T? No, but let's move on.
Okay, so yeah, you what do you think is the meaning of life?
Well, there's a biology answer, which is to propagate more life, which is terrible. There's a concept in biology where the current generation is driven to generate a new generation. Anyway,
Give birth?
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I don't know.
What do you see yourself in 5 years?
I would hope to see that I'd be a little further on where I am. A, master's degree done. B, at least one kid. I think that one's probably achievable.
Achieve it next year.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, done. That's one thing off the list.
Yeah. What turns you on the most?
What turns me on the most? I really like painting miniatures. So every once in a while there'll be a miniature that comes out, and I'm like, this is just super cool. I really want to paint this. The answer to what I find interesting, pretty much everything, and I can't help it.
So you're energetic.
Yeah, I am definitely a subject to my curiosity.
How many countries have you ever visited?
I was thinking about that one, and the answer is 3. So I've been to the US, the UK, and Costa Rica.
Okay, so which country stood out the most?
As much as I did enjoy my time in Costa Rica, I really did enjoy going to England. I spent a week in London and a week in Scotland, and or Edinburgh specifically, and both times it was just an incredible amount of history, and there was so much to see and kind of poke around and do. My poor wife, I dragged her through museum after museum, and she wasn't feeling very well at the time, so this was I wasn't dragging her, but like she wasn't having a good time, or I wasn't having as good a time as I was.
Okay, so your parents immigrated from England to Canada. You also can immigrate from Canada to UK.
I just visited, and it was my great-grandparents that immigrated. Yeah, I'm a few generations removed.
Even my both UK and Canada are good countries, so.
I did have a fun conversation while I was in Edinburgh. We were waiting for the Edinburgh Botanical Gardens to open up, and we got up really early that morning, and we did a big long walk, and there was this little coffee cart right across from the gardens, and so we're waiting, and we start talking to the guy who runs the coffee cart, and he asked where we're from and like what one of the reasons that we were there was, and at one point he's like, I get that there's like a bunch of old buildings, all well and good, like that's fine. He had a great accent, but I'm not even going to try and embarrass myself doing a Scottish accent. But at one point he's like, yeah, I get they're old buildings, but like, is it really that big a deal? And I look at him and go, there's a section of town called Newtown, which is older than Victoria. It's like 250 years old, and that's Newtown. You don't get how like cool it is to have old buildings, because we don't have that.
Not really. Compared with some historic building in China, it's really Newtown.
That's true. Well, I mean, like, they had a pub that was like from the 1350s was when it was built. Like, that's crazy to me. It's like like an 800-year-old pub. That seems like a good time.
When would you visit Asian countries or China?
Just haven't had the opportunity, honestly. At some point, I will likely go to Australia to visit my aunt. She lives in Australia with her partner.
Australia is far away from Asian.
True, but one of the things about Australia is Australia and Thailand have a strong connection, we'll say. Well, you asked about Asian countries, not necessarily specifically China. I don't know if I'll ever end up going to China. It'd be kind of cool, though.
Yeah, welcome to have a trip in China, as you guys don't need a visa. What do you know or think about Chinese culture?
I don't very frequently think about Chinese culture. My partner really likes Chinese dramas.
Which one?
There was one that I watched with her. Shoot, what was it called?
Okay, you can show me later.
I don't know if any of them are bad. I just know the titles.
Okay, you can show me later. I guess you must have a lot of Chinese classmates since you're starting your week, right?
Yeah,
What's your rating on them?
All incredibly hardworking. For the most part, they've got just such an incredible work ethic, yourself included.
You are praising me now?
You work way harder than I do, and I know that. I mean, most of it revolves around just being incredibly hardworking, and a lot of things that spin out from that. I think of the students that I've worked with year over year, I see the most improvement in language skills. So, like, I've worked with a couple of students that they've had enough English to get by in their first year, and then the next year, much stronger. And the year after that, incredibly strong English skills. So when I've seen more improvement from the Chinese students in their English over the span of 2 to 3 years than I have.
It's better than Indian guys?
That's not a fair comparison because some of them start with stronger English skills than others. When it's bad, it's bad. But yeah, I've definitely seen like stronger than other students that don't have a strong English background coming in.
Have you ever tried Chinese food?
Chinese food, yes.
What do you think about it? It's a part of Chinese culture.
Big fan. There's not great Chinese food options in Victoria.
Which Chinese dish you like most?
I don't remember what they're called, but there's these shrimp dumplings that there's this little dim sum place and fantastic shrimp dumplings. There's also basically, if you're ever down at JJ's, this is like a place called JJ's Wonton Noodle House on Fort Street, and it's like garlic. You just ask for like garlic pork or black garlic pork. Phenomenal. The best thing that they've got there. I went with someone who knows the owners, and that was her recommendation. So I would do that again in a heartbeat.
Honestly, I think the dishes you just mentioned is not classical.
Oh, that is one thing I would say. We don't have very traditional Chinese food.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Victoria.
whether you have ever been to the Richmond or Vancouver.
I've spent some time there, yeah.
You can enjoy the most delicious Chinese food there.
Much more authentic.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest difference between Canada and the United States?
So, admittedly, we're in Victoria.
Yeah.
Victoria is incredibly relaxed. It's
Relax.
It's a very green city. It's very relaxed. The culture is very dressed down. It's very uncommon to see people dressed in suits and very formal. So admittedly, that kind of colors my impression of the States a little bit more because I go down there and it's always moderately high stress. People are a little bit less polite, more stressed. It is always funny as a Canadian to walk through, say, like an American grocery store where you kind of look around and you're like, something's subtly wrong. And you can't quite put your finger on it. Part of that's how we deal with tax. So Canadian grocery stores don't include tax in the list price on the shelf, and American prices do. So, but there's always something just subtly different. Also, nothing has French on it. That's a weird thing to me personally, but it just feels weird. It's something I grew up around.
So you mean that if the people who are working in United States should be more stressed? Just
on average, I've definitely seen them have a little bit higher of a stress level than I've seen generally in Canadians.
And
yeah, a little bit more chill, a little bit more polite.
I want to mention one thing I experienced in Canada and the United States. Here now I'm not fitting into this kind of culture here. Is that I've traveled the United States once last year. I found that almost every restaurant, after I enjoyed something, I need to pay the tip. Sometimes 15%, 20%.
I hate tip culture.
Yeah.
Tipping in Canada and the States is ridiculous, and it is just an excuse to pay your employees poorly, and I absolutely despise it. I hate tipping culture. I wish it was something we didn't do, and yeah. Do I tip? Yeah, I tip when I go out for a nice meal and it's a good experience.
I think the price of food really charge everything, right? But why you charge an additional tip?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, I think.
Yeah, no, it's expectation too, which is unpleasant. Drives me nuts. I am 100% on board. If there was a petition to ban it from the city, I would sign it immediately because I absolutely hate that expectation. I think you're entirely right. If paying for your employees should be part of your asking price for the meal, and you shouldn't ask for someone to pay you more than you initially negotiated, which is essentially what it is.
Yeah. What qualities do you value most in a partner?
I really appreciate trust. That's a big thing for me.
I mean, trust is not cheating.
I mean, loyalty for sure, like that aspect of like trustworthiness, yes. But I mean, I also appreciate that she invests trust in me and like knows that I will do my best to be good for her and like do the things that do my best to make her happy. I think a certain aspect of it is I really appreciate that my partner and I have a lot of shared hobbies. So when we play video games, we'll often play the same game. When we go out to movies, we have a little bit more of a different taste in movies, but frequently we'll agree on one or two things on the scale of a year, and that's something that we can share together. And we do like going out for a nice meal, and we have the same favorite restaurant. So that kind of like sense of alignment with each other.
I need to summarize it with several keywords. First one you mentioned is trust. Second one is loyalty. Third one is common ground. Last question. Do you have any suggestion for people who want to study abroad in Canada, like Chinese international student?
Joining clubs or teams or finding, especially for students, volunteering with labs. So if you're doing mechanical engineering, for instance, volunteering with some of the research laboratories, because then you get to see what is modern research. Especially if you're looking at undergraduate, you might go the entirety of an undergraduate degree, and just down the hall there's an aerospace research lab. Well, you never know it's not. You'd never know it's there unless you research ahead of time and know, oh, that prof teaches this class, but he also runs an aerospace research lab, especially in biomedical engineering, because there's 2 labs that focus on tissue engineering and a lab that focuses on microfluidics and a lab that focuses on, 2 labs that focus on biomechanics. If that's something that you're really passionate about, do a little bit of volunteer work, reach out to some of those profs, find out what they do, what they want to do. If there's any research opportunities, maybe you spin out into a master's when you weren't expecting to, or what have you, or a PhD. Yeah. That's a very ranty answer, I know that.
Yeah, another thing is that make new friends like you, right? Here.
Hey,
I give more suggestions here.
That's the thing. If you engage in teams and those volunteer with research groups, you get to meet people, you get to make those friends. And if you just sort of like hunker down and just focus on school all the time, maybe you don't get the same experience.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good one.